Disability does not mean inability. This is actually a quote from our guest today, Jacob Levy. Jacob is a special education teacher who then added something very important onto his body of work. He is a neurodivergent career coach. Now, this is a word career that we just don't use with neurodivergent people enough. So I'm loving, Jacob, that you've done this. So he's a neurodivergent career coach, helping job seekers with disabilities communicate, and here we are again, their value. I love that. Communicate their value and attain a well-paid and satisfying job that blossoms into a career. I mean, that's the whole focus of this, to open up the way a person with disabilities even views his potential. Is that really how you got started in the neurodivergent career coach path?
So how I got started was through my own experience. Um, Growing up with a learning disability since birth, due to hydrocephalus. For anyone that doesn't know, hydrocephalus essentially is a brain hemorrhage. It literally means water on the brain. So I struggled a lot with my short-term and long-term memory retrieval. Um, and yeah, I mean, just going through my own struggles with employment. Um, I would say being being underemployed for quite some time. I've been, I've done pretty well with being employed, but it's more like being underemployed. In other words, not being employed for long periods of time. Um, and so I realized that I could use my own journey to help other job seekers find work. Um, I think with job seekers with disabilities or just a person with a disability, there is never a straight path to anything. Whether it's finding a job or finding success in anything, there's always like a squiggly line, a swirl, a this, a that's a roller coaster. Um, but I think that's where we find one opportunity that other people don't see. Um, we find like glimmers of success, and those can blossom into other things.
Absolutely right. I, when did you actually land where you are now? Because I think you're probably pretty happy now. You've got this really killer creative niche of neurodivergent career coach, and we're going to explore how you do that. And plus, you have a teaching job during the day. So you're very employed. You're certainly not underemployed anymore, are you? But when did you get to this point?
It took a very long time. Um, it took, I mean, I'm 42 now, and you know, out of school at 21. Um, they didn't have they didn't have a class in college of like how to find work. Or I think right when I got out of school, or maybe a little bit before, LinkedIn just came out in
Hmm.
2001, 2005, around there. So like people were just like tinkering with it. There's no PDF manual on these platforms. They just push them out to the world, run a beta test, do a bunch of bug fixes. There's no manual. And so I had to learn the hard way. Um, I was doing what everyone else was doing, applying to jobs, this and that, job boards, etc. And I just got so tired of a lot of the processes that are outdated, especially for people with disabilities. And on top of that, they never taught, like, what do you do when you see this EEOC box? Or like, I have a disability. Do I check that? Do I not check that? What does that even mean? Like, there's no, you know what I mean? There's no formal
Hmm.
training on that. So I was like, I didn't know what the hell to do. Um, I've tried everything. I've checked the box. I haven't checked the box. Um, and I've had some successes, some things that were not so successful, some employers that were very accommodating, um, and not so accommodating. I think I just learned through my journey that like sometimes you have to take it into your own hands to find success. Like there are plenty of resources out there. And I mean, the way that I like started certain things, side hustles, things like that, you do it with you try and do a lot with very little. Because when you do a lot with very little, you get wildly creative.
Ah,
Wildly, wildly creative because you have to.
right.
It has nothing to do with the budget.
So is this how you then eventually honed in and present back to people how to use LinkedIn? Because that's
Yes.
where most of your exploration with people exists, your clients.
Yes. So I
Okay.
started on LinkedIn and then I show people building blocks about LinkedIn, how an algorithm works, how to create content based on your expertise, or if you're just getting out of college, how to document your learning journey. Um, and basically, like in a nutshell, I explain to people that like look at these platforms, not just LinkedIn, but any of the social media platforms. It's one big Google search. So somebody's trying to find you, and you're trying to find somebody. Um, let's say you go to a new city, like Chicago. Lived there for 4 years, great city, and you want Italian food, but you don't know any restaurants in the area. So you go to Google and you type in Chicago Italian food, and what happens? 15 restaurants pop up,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
That's how it starts to work. But on LinkedIn, you're not looking for restaurants, you're looking for opportunity. So instead of doing that, you can type in certain keywords, like a job title or a city, or if you're a software developer, you could type in Java, C++, whatever, and you can search for opportunities by these skill sets. Has nothing to do with a resume. Searching by, you have to know somebody's name. Think about a Google search. I don't know the name of this Italian restaurant, so I could search broadly, right? I could do a macro search instead of a micro search.
Okay, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. All right, I get that part. The other part that fascinates me more than anything is the creativity that you imbue, that you suggest, that you open up with people. I went through everything on your LinkedIn site, and there's video content you can help people create so they can literally communicate who they are. So potential employers can get a sense and feel like the old days, Jacob, when we called phone numbers of potential employers and they picked up the phone. And now you
Right.
have a human to human connection. So we don't have a human to human live connection anymore. But I think in some of the aspects of the coaching that you do for people that use LinkedIn, you are bringing back some live connection, aren't you?
Yeah. Um, there was actually a video that I posted a long time ago. So I used to be a jazz musician for like a decade. I have a background in music performance. And I made a video and it was like a parody of, I think it was like Beethoven's Seventh, like da 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 da. But I changed the words and it's all about like don't apply to jobs, right? But it was to the melody of that classic Beethoven piece. And I'm actually singing it. But my point is, like at the very end of it, I say, let's keep it H to H. What is H to H? Human to human.
Oh my God. I love that.
So yeah, it's funny you said that.
Yeah, it's on my mind constantly because even in the neurotypical world, I would never in a million years want to go looking for a job now with the way we are presented with the job search, which is upload your resume online and you might get picked. I mean, come on, seriously? This is a
Yeah, and
world.
another reason why like I mean I definitely this is just my opinion, but I kind of steer away from job boards and applying. I've altered my views slightly, and I tell people there's nothing wrong with applying. However, do not have that be your sole strategy. You can supplement it. right? Like basically what you want to do is you want to create a mini brand. So I'm not Jacob Levy, the educator or neurodivergent, or Jacob Levy, the career coach, Jacob Levy, the job seeker. I'm Jacob Levy, and then list your skills, right? The career coach, the educator, the entrepreneur, like list all those skills. Even if you're seeking out a new certification, you could say a software developer in progress. Like whatever you want to, however you want to pitch it, like start to craft out a brand for yourself. I mean, we're in 2025. Like you don't need permission to have a brand. Like just have a brand and embody everything about that brand, right? Like from customer service to who you are, the content you push out, what you speak. Like you gotta speak.
Okay, so then specifically for neurodivergent people, um, there are the soft skills that become very important. There may be more soft skills to present than hard skills. I mean, one never knows, just depending on the level of challenges a person has. So a soft skill would be, I love helping people. I specifically love helping senior citizens. I mean, you can even niche it down like that. I enjoy taking care of people, or I don't know. That's the first thing that came to mind. But what's your position on soft skills?
So to take your example, if you like, working with the elderly, um, do a 60-second video on like what's your experience working with the elderly, right? Um, so I'm not 100% sure about LinkedIn's algorithm in that regard, but on other platforms I'm currently testing, like TikTok and Instagram, if you begin to talk about a certain topic, I'm not 100% sure, but I literally just tested a video on this. It will pick up the topic, even if it's not written. If it is verbalized, it will pick up the topic and it will push it out based on its popularity. So if you want to gig at a convalescent home, start talking about working with the elderly,
Okay.
for example.
Okay. No, this is great, Jacob. This is great. So here's what I did. I looked, I want you to talk about your process now. So your process on LinkedIn is, well, it's kind of a specific path, several steps. Could you talk about how you approach that with people?
Sure. So I basically look at it like a game of offense and defense. Um, Defense is essentially like setting up your profile, getting ready for the game, right? For battle, right? Whether it's sports or video games, you're really setting your your station up, getting ready for the game. So what does that mean? That means setting up your profile. You have your header, your profile picture. You want to usually have shoulders up, decent lighting. You want to have a banner. Um, Everybody these days should have a banner. LinkedIn, it comes stock with like this blue-gray banner. It's just blank. Again, this is your chance to create a brand. I would definitely go to somewhere like Canva. It's 100% free. There's a million templates. You can customize them. I mean, really all you need is your name, at least your email. You don't want to put your phone number out to the internet, because I have, and I've gotten all sorts of colorful responses. But at least put your email,
Yeah.
get to have some form of communication. Um, I show people about the header section. Basically, you want to be like, who you are, what you do, and that can be anything from like any metrics that you've accomplished. So there can be quantitative data in there. I closed $2.8 million of sales in Q4 of 2019, like something measurable.
Okay. Well, how many neurodivergent people would put something measurable like that in? Because
Depends
I'm
on their
really going to
industry.
ask you, what's the extent, the range of people that you can help? But keep going with that.
Great question. I mean, it depends on the industry, but basically anything objective, right? Not subjective per se. You want to have something measurable or observable. Um, or like, what is the value that you bring to the world in your niche, right? It could be one single thing. Like what individualizes yourself. Um, and so that's your header section, and then You want to have my favorite section, or one of the best pieces of real estate, is your about section or your summary section. I think it has now up to 3,000 characters. That's a massive piece of real estate. That's huge, right? So you can put a lot of information about yourself. You can put whatever you want, but you just want to keep in mind that everything on your profile, to my knowledge, is still SEO friendly, search engine optimization. So if you
Mhm.
put certain keywords based on who you are and what you do, an employer hypothetically can find your profile based on those keywords. They don't need your resume, they do not need your name. They can find you by generic keywords.
Okay, this is fascinating. I have never had anybody explain how LinkedIn works like this.
Well,
So,
nobody uses it like that's the reason nobody uses it like that.
well, this is absolutely brilliant. So, who can you not help?
Well, I've never been asked that question.
Okay, let me give you a setup to this. Well, my nephew John is the co-host of the show, so I can't interview him. I can't have him be with everybody because it's too much for him. So I have to pick and choose who he joins me with, and plus he actually has a schedule. Um, but John doesn't have the executive function skills of reading, writing, and arithmetic. So there are certain things he can't do. I also interviewed a few weeks ago a Down syndrome gentleman named Tony Phillips. Now, Tony actually is an artist. He wants to start selling his artwork. I think he's a perfect candidate for LinkedIn, to be honest with you. And he has this entrepreneurial disposition about him. He likes to think of ways to create income and to create work for himself. And it's not crazy. It's really a seed business. He wants to show people how to have their own gardens in certain respects. And he has this great artwork. So I think he's good for LinkedIn. Do you think?
100%. Um, it goes back to my, I don't know if it's on my website, but there's a quote that I tell every single job seeker when they ask me, I tell them, you want to create content, right? And they're like, I don't know what to post. I don't know what to post. And I say this every single time. I say, create bite-sized pieces of content that display your subject matter expertise. Or if you are pivoting or you're just out of school, document your learning journey in bite-sized pieces. So for your nephew, first of all, creatives have, in my opinion, a massive opportunity to document their skill set because everything is either a visual or an auditory medium. Like have the capability to be visual auditory. You could post on TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn. Instagram and TikTok are excellent creative platforms to showcase your work.
And as an aside, everybody, I went through this website that Jacob has called Searchable, and it's in his banner on LinkedIn. What a delight. So Jacob works with somebody who's hugely creative in putting visual content out there for you. So if you can't do it, Jacob has resources
100%.
to help you.
Yeah, my graphic designer is absolutely brilliant. Um, he's also bilingual. He's a Spanish speaker. So am I. Grew up in Los Angeles. So he's unbelievable. He's absolutely unbelievable. Also neurodivergent on the spectrum. And I did not, to be honest, I did not know he was neurodivergent. Didn't really come up in conversation. I think it came up in conversation eventually when we started working together, specifically because of Searchable. Like I
Mhm.
basically, he was reading my bio and he's like, "Oh, you're neurodivergent. So am I." So that was like a match made in heaven.
It really is. So, okay, I want to read some other things that you do because I got from your LinkedIn site, I got these checklists. So, A, you utilize the LinkedIn algorithm and you teach people how to do it, just like you suggested here. You gave us some tips, which was great. Number two, you help with content creation and creative ways to express yourself, which will make LinkedIn pop. Yours pops. I love your LinkedIn site and where you send us. Where you shine is the creative side. So I love that. So you're a musician, and I used to work with musicians for quite a number of years, booking them for private events and different types of stage performances. And I'm always very impressed with musicians and how creative they are. I love working with musicians for that reason. And if you give musicians rope to be who they are, oh my God, you will be so surprised, positively surprised. Um, and then, and you can help create videos and content. But so here's what, so I looked at all these different packages that you offer in the coaching field. And then I looked at the checklist of what you provide. And so here's what you provide: resumes. Depending on the package, it could be more, one or more, but you provide resumes. Um, Again, LinkedIn optimization, coaching. If you get the advanced package, you can work with people to reach up to 30 companies. What does that mean? Interpret that for me, please.
So basically, I have a way, I have another gentleman that helps me. Um, we basically have like a database of emails from companies, various amounts of different decision makers, right? So CEOs, VPs, managers, directors, etc. Um, contact information. So if I say like 10 companies, it's in one of those packages, you can choose 10 companies of your choice. My guy will find up to three decision maker contacts for each company, so up to 30 contacts, emails, phone numbers, etc. Because you have to make these human connections, right? It's
Yes.
many pieces. Yeah, the human so it's content creation, it's making your brand, it's reaching out, it's doing cold outreach, it's DMing, it's comments, public comments on decision makers' posts. It's everything. That's the whole package. It's not just one single thing.
And I want to make this comment to everybody and share it with you, but we did talk about this, I believe, in our pre-interview, and that is, oh, and I opened with your quote, disability does not mean inability. We really sell people short that are neurodivergent, that are obviously neurodivergent. Down syndrome, obviously. Tourette's, obviously. My nephew, brain damage, obvious. Okay, quite a few people on the autistic spectrum, not obvious. You really have to get to know them, and then they start explaining to you how they function, how they don't function. And so you adjust if you want to have a relationship with them. But I really think we sell people short, the obviously neurodivergent people, because just because you have an obvious physical expression of your neurodivergency, it does not mean you don't have brilliance. These things live together quite easily, do they not?
Yeah, I mean, it comes in all different shapes and sizes. Um, I mean, there's disabilities that, like, honestly, I didn't even know was a disability until I researched it. I mean, diabetes is a disability.
It
It's
is.
on the list of, it's in DSM-5, and it's
Wow.
on the list of a lot of um, employer applications. They'll ask, do you have XYZ disability? I mean, there is such a massive umbrella of disabilities. Um, I mean, you mentioned disabilities, some are obvious. I mean, there's a tremendous range of invisible disabilities
Right.
that are not obvious. I mean, I have an invisible disability. Um, I acquired a learning disability since birth. I mean, technically it's a TBI, traumatic brain injury. But I mean, I as well as I can function with society. I have a couple of like physical characteristics. I have a lazy eye, wore a patch since like I was 3, with glasses combined to strengthen my weak eye. I walk on my tippy toes. My calves are steel. I know that sounds strange, but when you walk on your tippy toes since you learn to walk, you have calves of steel. Like I have ridiculous calves.
Okay, so could we hire you to kick something? I mean, would we be able
So
to
I was
hear?
a soccer player for like 15 years, and
Of course
I
you
was
were.
one of the fastest kids in the entire school, and I think it's because of my calves.
Oh my
Like
God.
I think that's
Is this autism? People walk on their toes, people who
I
are on the
I have
spectrum.
heard that. I mean, I've heard that that's one of the characteristics, but
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be autism. I mean, to my knowledge, I don't believe I'm on the spectrum, but I think from hydrocephalus, that was something that's just a characteristic, you
Mm.
know. So I was when I had to do my like the nurse had to take my it's called the APGAR score.
Hmm.
It's a score that rates on a certain number of like a battery of testing. She said that I was a candidate for cerebral palsy because it's similar things that are affected.
Fabulous.
So no, I mean, I'm very lucky,
Healthy
very
and
lucky.
well right now. I want to read this off and then I just want to go to a couple other examples, but I just want to finish reading what you offer. A mock interview, a salary negotiation. You have a job seeker ebook, cheat sheet. What's that? Listed as one of the things you
So
provide.
a cheat sheet is basically it's an overview of how to find these opportunities outside your network. And this is so I've run a psychology experiment on this for many years. Um, I give this out for free. I give this to anyone that wants it. The test is the majority of people that take it, they don't implement it. They don't. And then eventually, if like they never use it, and then some people do come back to me and they're like, I need your help. And the first thing I'll say is, did you read the cheat sheet? Um, like it's just a fascinating experiment. Like the difference between giving something out for free or charging a premium for it.
Well, there's that and just human nature, because I know with my other business, which is divorce, I'll get a call after the divorce is over, maybe a year goes by. The couple is arguing generally about child support stuff. Everything is written in the settlement agreement or the custody schedule. All you have to do is go back to that agreement. So when they call me and they're upset and what do we do? I said, where's your settlement agreement? Have you checked the section that addresses the issue you're having right now? And they look at me blankly. I think it's just human nature. We just don't. We kind of stop short so often of carrying something through. But so happy that you're here to get people back on board, Jacob. Just to finish a couple other things, you have a searchable job search training video. So searchable being your other website um, that really has everything that you offer on it, the packages that you offer and what's included. Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, correct.
Okay. You have a 90-day full training program. And then I don't know what you mean by you have 12 post templates. What are post templates?
So they're marketing templates.
Ah.
So when you create a post, um, there's many different ways to make a post. There's a video, there's audio, there's flat text, which is literally just text, nothing else. Or you probably see this on every social media platform. You can add a template. And a
Hmm.
template really it complements your brand. So if you're like a graphic designer, like I mean, you definitely want to have some sort of marketing templates if that's your business. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it really just enhances and brings light to the content, like what you're talking about, the subject matter area, because everybody learns differently. Some are visual, some are auditory, tactile, kinesthetic. Even if somebody is blind or visually impaired, you can have a template and then you can have what's called alt text or
Mm-hmm.
alternate text, where it literally describes what's in the the video, the visual, whatever.
Okay. So have you ever met somebody you couldn't help?
Sure.
What are the characteristics? I just want people to know who can come to you and who you might not be able to service. I want to do a delineation here.
So, I mean, I kind of like have a framework that I use on everybody. Doesn't matter who you are. Of course, if you require some accommodations, obviously that's fine. Um, but the framework's the same, right? Like how I show content creation and all the different strategies, targeting decision makers, etc. I mean, the people that I have not been able to help, a lot of them put up a wall. And it has nothing to do with me. It just has to do with their general experience finding work. And I mean, it's rough out there. The market is a beast. Um, and that's when I started digging deeper for other types of work to help the neurodivergent community. So I've started testing different side hustles. There's a specific reason why, and it might not supplement an entire income, but many neurodivergents simply, they just, their brain is not wired to work a 9 to 5. They
You're
just
right.
can't sit at a desk for 9 hours a day.
You're right.
It's not to say that, I mean, there's manual labor, there's this and that, but like there's so many creatives out there, right?
Hmm.
Even if you're not in a creative field, but you could be wildly creative. They
Absolutely.
they just haven't found that in a way to get in. And there's
Okay.
so many ways to do, I mean, it's like a whole nother conversation, but like there's so many ways to do it, and that's what I'm testing.
Okay. So we'll come back with that because I like that. But for instance, Tourette's.
Okay.
Have you dealt with somebody with Tourette's?
I haven't had any clients with Tourette's. Um, I mean, I am familiar with the characteristics. I did have a student with Tourette's in a school setting, but not a client.
Do you think you might be able to help somebody with Tourette's, and how did it work out? How did you help your student move forward in when you had that person in class?
So, I mean, I think I'm like a unique case because I have lived experience. So like I have a tremendous amount of patience. And it took time, like to have patience with myself. I still get frustrated, but like from my experience, I think it's brought me tr like a tremendous amount of empathy. So with Tourette's, it's kind of like, when you understand um, characteristics of another person. I mean, in my opinion, that can bring empathy. Or if you have lived experience of yourself or with another person, that can bring empathy. So with Tourette's, when you know ahead of time, like some of the symptoms or characteristics, that, I mean, that's like being prepared,
Yeah,
when
yeah,
working with
but this
someone.
person is coming to you as a career coach,
You mean as a job seeker?
a job seeker. Well, I like career. I love the word career because we don't use it with neurodivergent people enough.
Oh, you mean they're coming looking for a career coach?
Right. I mean, you have to have a job, jobs to make a career, but I just love that the word career is starting to be used now for neurodivergent people. But not to get stuck on that. So somebody's coming to you because they want help seeking work, and this person has Tourette's.
Okay.
Now, how do you approach that? Okay, first of all, people with Tourette's actually have skills and talents. Just because they have physical tics, they have skills and talents.
Yeah.
Well, I met somebody, he was an exceptional graphic artist, Tourette's. So his mother was looking for jobs that had nothing to do with his skill as a graphic artist. So she
Yeah.
was looking, and I mean, this is a parent. You can't fault the parents. The parents that did their best just to keep their children educated and safe and fed and, cared for and all of that. But now, you become an adult at some point and you have to do something with your life. And so I found it fascinating, Jacob, that this mom who cared for her son said, look how great he is, graphic design artist. Now I've applied for Amazon warehouse work for him, stocking shelves. I'm like, you don't have to go to a company to perform a job that is art, creating art. You could literally do that in your own home and send it to a manager or, an employer.
Yeah, you
This
could.
is so this is kind of where I am with, I gave you a pretty extreme example, um, because communication with people with Tourette's can be hard depending on the level.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, another thing, like, I mean, you mentioned, somebody could send their artwork to like a manager or whomever. That goes back to content creation. Why send your artwork to a single manager when you can post online and you can be seen by thousands of people,
Oh,
including
absolutely. But once you
managers?
get the job, you're dealing with a manager. That's kind of where I was at. Now, you actually can get a job. You don't necessarily have to be in the office 8 hours a day. But to your point, your further point is, and this is really where I wanted to get with parents who may have kids with Tourette's, is your content creation going with your model can kind of push the Tourette's aside a second or use that to enhance what they're doing. But that doesn't have to be a roadblock. That doesn't have to stop you from using a skill and a talent that you have.
Agreed. And I would actually take it a step further, and I would say get on camera, um, show that you have a disability. Why? First of all, I've tested this. I got so sick and tired of the job searching process, applications, checking the EEOC box for a disability, that I just began to document my expertise, like as an educator, in video and text form, as well as like weaving in the fact that I also have a disability. Now, what did that do? It did twofold. So one, I believe it repelled companies that were not very inclusive. But what it also did, it opened a lot of doors for me and it attracted a lot of inclusive companies. Well, as a coach, I had a company that was specifically looking for neurodivergent job seekers. Like the recruiter told me, they were typing in keywords and my profile popped up because I put keywords in my profile, attracting that demographic. And um, they basically, I mean, they were looking for candidates, but what ended up happening, they hired me for a speaking gig for their employee resource group, their disability employee resource group. So my point is that like companies look for this community. You don't necessarily have to like put it out to the world, but like they are looking. They're very much actively looking, and there are work opportunity tax credits available to companies that hire neurodivergent employees. Like there are incentives, but like it's a very hard thing to disclose. I mean, privately, but also in public. Um, but I just want people to know that like employers are looking, period.
Okay, that is wonderful. That's such a hopeful thing for you to say. Um, because the average person or the average family that has a neurodivergent child doesn't see it, doesn't understand that, is
Right, they're
very much
also not on
worried.
the right, they're also not on the front lines
How do you mean?
of employment. Like mom and dad are not on the front lines at the interview with their kid.
Ah, yeah.
They're not on the front lines. They have no idea what LinkedIn looks like, what an algorithm looks like, what a decision maker look like. They're not supposed to. You know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
that's not their job.
Right.
But I'm here to tell them on the other side of employment that like you got to put your best self out there. Like, I mean, there's a great quote by Oscar Wilde, British poet, I believe, and he was like, and it resonated with me as a fellow neurodivergent. He was like, "Be yourself. Everyone else is taken."
I love that. I
It's true
do
though,
love that.
and people should
Yeah.
apply that to their everyday life. Because I mean, me personally, I've done plenty of masking. For those people that don't know, masking is like basically like hiding your neurodivergent traits or disabled
Mm-hmm.
traits for, for the sake of fitting in at work or whatever. I mean, I still do that, like, and I don't even realize I'm doing it, but I just think like life is too short and you just have to be who you are. Because if you're somebody else, then that means a company is hiring somebody else.
Brilliantly said. No, I completely agree. And a great way to end this portion of the conversation. I really do want to, in another time, Jacob, talk about these side hustles. So I told Jacob before we started this interview, I said, let's just focus on LinkedIn because there's a lot to talk about just within that. And who would have thought a neurodivergent person? And I'm more so talking about those who are obviously, you can see it, don't even think about a LinkedIn profile. But I'm so happy for you to say, no, no, there's no, don't hold yourself away from this. This can be wonderful. And I'm so happy to hear you say, get on camera, let people know who you are, because once they see who you are physically, now they're going to listen to you talk, and that's when you're going to shock them, pleasantly so, with who you are, what you have to offer, and just the heart with which you will bring to your work. So,
Absolutely. You're not just a piece of paper called a resume.
yeah. In fact, that almost might get in the way because look, with a certain niche part of our society, it's who you know. Okay, I'm just going to introduce you to, you know, um, my friend. We graduated college. He runs a company. I mean, people get into jobs like that just by these little introductions. So, um, yeah, let's use LinkedIn in its fullest way to be able to make us come alive. I don't see people doing introduction videos enough on LinkedIn saying who they are if they're looking for work. But I love this. I love this, Jacob. Thank you. I love
Yeah,
everything you
absolutely.
said. Yeah.
I just thought of something when you said, it is true, like it's who you know. I would agree with that. But I would also twist the old adage, like it's not what you know, it's who you know. It's in order to in order to find out like who you know, you have to know something in order to get introduced to someone, right? Like so it is a little bit of both. It's like what you know in order to get introduced to who somebody else knows. You have to put yourself out there first.
Okay. And then with your help, there'll be a video created, a series of videos. Who knows? The sky's the limit in what you can put together creatively as your brand.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you. I mean, this is great. I really appreciate this. I was so blown away when I learned of you. Thank you so much for coming here. And we'll get together a second time and talk about those side hustles that can help just stimulate money, stimulate the creative juices, and just, you know, help you along the journey of living.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jacob. Take care.
Thanks, Judith.
And thank all of you for watching. I end as I always do. In the world of special needs people, we all need each other. Talk to you next week.